Good morning. This is Arlisha calling in. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Thanks for confirming this thing. Good morning, everyone. My name is Arlisha Wilson. I'm the chair of today's meeting, and I'm going to get us started today with our hearing. We'll begin with the reading of the preamble. Madam Secretary.
Good morning. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning, this Monday, May 18th, 2026. In compliance with notification requirements of the city's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak on a particular matter have been considered. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you for that. Can we call the roll, please?
Sure. Ms. Holzer?
Present.
Ms. Faith?
Present.
Mr. Madison?
Present.
Ms. Roca will be absent this morning. And Ms. Wilson?
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum with 4 members. At this time, with 4 members, we need to announce that the appellants run the risk of a tied vote. If it is a tied vote, then the variance is denied. So at this time, you may ask for a postponement to a future date when we would have 5 members.
Okay, that being said, is there anyone who wishes to postpone their matter? Please let us know now.
We do not see any
All
hands
right,
raised.
hearing none. All right, thank you for that. Do we have any postponements or withdrawal?
We were just made aware of a withdrawal. This is from the city. It appears that there's been a change in the situation with Dickens Avenue. So calendar number 26-042. Latanya Walker proposing to establish a 5-person residential facility no longer needs the variance due to a change in the circumstance. I believe the group home that was cited as being within 1,000 feet is no longer active. Is that correct, Ms. Leonard?
Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Administrator. That's correct. The home at 3104 Audubon Boulevard is no longer considered a residential, Class 2 residential state license facility. Therefore, 9717 Dickens does not need a variance for a 5-person residential facility in a 2-family residential district. Thank you.
Okay, this is noted. Thank you so much, Ms. Leonard. We'll go ahead and call that matter withdrawn. We will not take testimony in that matter. Any others, Madam Secretary?
No, that'll do it.
All right, well, let's call the first case. This will be calendar number 26-041. Do we have someone present from Landmark the Lake LLC?
Madam Chair, I will read in the case.
It sounds like we may have an appellant present. Go right ahead, Ms. Holton. Thank you.
Our first case is calendar number 26-041. This is at 5475 Marginal Road. Landmark at the Lake LLC owner proposes to erect a 5-story, 209-unit apartment building in a general retail business district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 6. Nope, there's 5, with a note that city planning approval is necessary. Madam Chair, would you like me to do the oath?
I heard that. Thank you, Ms. Holton.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand. Say I do.
Do.
Say your name.
Calvin Tustin,
Spell your name.
CalvinTustan,
And give your address.
8505 Wesley Drive,
Thank
Parma,
you.
Ohio.
And then we'll do history of the property.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Ms. Holzer. This property was originally zoned general industry in 1996 and, 1929. And then in 1996, it was changed to general retail business. We didn't find any records in our records administration office for this area. And there are no variances on file and nothing of note in the more recent history. Back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you for that. Can we have Lisa, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the maximum gross floor area, minimum required lot size, parking, and trash requirements of the zoning code. To obtain these area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. We'll now go to the project team who would like to speak.
Go ahead.
Sure. I believe once we get through these slides, we have a presentation we put together as well. I don't know if that'll. Yes. Okay. So I'm Calvin Tustin with RDL Architects. On the line with me as well as Joy Skidmore and Adi Ratman with the Annex Group.
Will they be speaking?
Potentially.
Then we will need them to swear in as well.
Okay.
So you said we have. Got it. So Ms. Skidmore, I will have you swear in first. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth? Please raise your hand. Say I do.
I do.
Give your name and spell your name.
Joy Skidmore, JoySkidmore.
And your address, please.
8680 Edison Plaza Drive, Fishers, Indiana 46038. I don't believe Ati is on, and I don't think she will need to speak, so I can take all questions if needed.
Thank you. I'll hand it back to you.
Next slide, please. With those unfamiliar with the site, it's located just north of the Shoreway, Route 2, and adjacent to the Shoreline Apartments. It might be set to auto. Okay. And we have our main building lot site, and then to the east of our site is the easement and vacated right-of-way, which we'll also be utilizing as part of this. Here we have the site plan proposing our 5-story apartment building with 209 units in the primary building lot. And we are proposing between, yeah, it keeps jumping. I don't know if.
It's delayed.
Okay.
A chance to get to it.
So we're proposing 212 parking spaces currently, split between these two lots. And then the easement to the vacated right-of-way to the east will be using shared parking as well as a city park. This lot is currently in coordination with the land lease and the city in our planning. So here's just the general layout of the building, the 5 stories with an inclusion of the unit mix and the square footages for each floor as well. Just for the general layout. Here we have listed the letter of nonconformance that was issued with the 5 items, 3 of which will be asking for a variance, 2 of which no longer will be addressing. So the first item, we're asking for variance here, zoning code 35504. This is for the square footage for the lot. It's limited based on 1 times the amount of the lot square footage, which is at that 186,230 square feet. Our variance request is for 248 square feet, which is within the 2024 Ohio Building Code allowance for the code. So we're requesting the variance for the building square footage. The second item we're requesting a variance on is the zoning code 34904 that requires the parking to all be on the lot of the building. In this case, we're requesting a variance to use the main lot plus the easement, which would add 20 additional spaces to the 192 that are on the main lot. And we're requesting the variance for 209 units. We have 212 currently, but we're currently working through a lot connection through the main parking lot with the city right now. So the 209 variance would be the request. Keeps jumping ahead.
Does that conclude your comments,
Apologize.
or are we waiting for the slides to catch up?
We're waiting for the slides. It seems to keep jumping ahead.
Okay.
It would be 2 slides before this. It was this the item number 3. This one, yeah. So this is also tied to the parking variance. Requesting that any off-street parking for the facility is located on the same lot or within 400 feet. And with that easement, it would be on the same lot. It would be sharing the lot if that easement variance is granted. Similarly, it also says any accessory parking is on the same ownership or control as the building lot. So it's also tied to that same variance. So item number 4 is one that we'll be addressing. It was a variance for screening of the trash enclosure. We had originally proposed foliage around it with bushes and trees, but we'll be addressing that with a fence or some sort of opaque object that would be enclosing the trash enclosure. And then the 5th item was the foot candle lighting level at the parking. This just had a few areas that was under that 1 foot candle along the edge. So we'll just be shifting or adding additional fixtures to address that to make sure there's at least 1 foot candle within all the parking areas. So we'll just be requesting the variances for the first 3 items, and then the last 2 we'll be addressing.
Okay, this is noted. Thank you for that. Is there anyone else from your team who would like to speak?
Madam Chair, this is Dan Schinkel with the Downtown Flats Design Review. Just wanted to mention our support for the applicant here. They've been working really diligently with us for the last, about a year and a half on the development plans. We appreciate that they're meeting now the illumination and the dumpster enclosure that otherwise was originally on the letter of nonconformance. The zoning code in this area is a little bit dated. I don't think that we would have thought a development of this scale was coming to the lakefront, but we certainly support the density that is proposed here. And in addition, because of the agreements that the applicant is working on with the city for the vacated East 55th right-of-way and the adjacent city lot, in order to provide the total parking count of 209 spaces. The city has requested that the parking on the vacated right-of-way be public in nature. So they have provided 209, but 17 of those would be public parking. They've done some parking studies, and they feel comfortable with, a reduced number, less than 1-to-1, and we support that as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Anyone else from the project team wish to speak? All right, any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I do have a question. If we, and this is to the planning department, if we have evidence of the easement, do they need to be granted a variance for the parking if they are showing that they have more parking than necessary?
Through the chair to the board member, yes, they still need the variance and easement of the property if you have to have the parking within your own property.
So if it were a lot consolidation, it would be different, but because.
That's
it's an easement-
correct.
Okay, got it. And then, Madam
All right.
Chair, I did have a question around the variance for, so for four, you had noted that the appellant had noted that there would be some sort of screening, be it fencing or something or another around the around trash. Is that on your site plan?
Well, I
The
heard
fence-
that they were gonna correct number 4 and 5 and would no longer seek the variance. Did I
So
hear
what-
that correctly?
So we'll need an updated site plan. Okay,
That's not going to show.
got it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the person who responded in the room. Did they say
Oh, I
they're
just
gonna comply
Stated it
and
wasn't
won't need a
currently
variance?
shown,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, we will.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ms. Holder. Any other questions? All right.
Madam
any
Chair?
Comments from city plan? Uh-huh.
Madam Chair, this is Liz Kukla. I have a question about the parking, and I'm not sure if I heard if we have a legal drawn up parking lease agreement or anything like that. I didn't see it in the file. Are we saying that there is a you're leasing parking as well on another parcel? Or are we just talking about the right of way parking that you're gonna create on the East 55th vacated right of way?
The parking would be on the easement. I don't know, Joy, can you speak to if the lease agreement, if there's any language about parking, or is it just we're adding to the
Yeah.
parking for the building because we are utilizing that easement?
That's correct. There's a lease agreement currently under negotiation. As part of approval of that lease agreement, this variance has to be granted as well. So we are only talking about the parking that is within the vacated right of way, and we are currently working with city legal on a lease agreement for that parking.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the board? All right. Hearing no questions. Do we have any correspondence, Madam Secretary?
No, we do not.
All right. Well, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, giving the testimony that we've heard this morning, we have clarification that there will be a lease agreement submitted for the parking on the easement, and that is contingent on this variance being approved. We also have testimony that a new site plan will be submitted that will reflect the new lighting plan and the new trash confinement. With those conditions in place, I move approval of calendar number 26-041 with the understanding that number 6, city planning approval, is also required.
All right. Thank you for that, Ms. Faith. So we have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Board Member Madison, second.
Thanks, Mr. Madison. Can we call the vote, please?
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes,
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 26-041 is granted conditionally. We will hold ratification until we receive the updated site plan, and I'm not sure if we want to hold it for the lease agreement, Ms. Faith, but if we can get something in writing from the city stating that you're working on the lease agreement. I know those things can take a while. But once we receive those items, we'll run them past the board and they will ratify it the following Monday. Thank you.
All right. That concludes that matter. Thank you all for being here. We'll now move to calendar number 26-047. Do we have appellants present for this matter? If so, please come forward. And while they do that, we'll have Ms. Holder read in the case.
Our next case is calendar number 26-047. This is at 4314 Bailey Avenue. Jorge Mayor and Nathaniel Grills, owners, propose to erect a new wood frame gable garage in a B12 family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. And I will also administer the oath. All right, I see that there is one person online, okay, and two folks in the room. So I'll swear in the individual online first, and then I will go over to you guys. So do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand. Say, I do.
I do.
Thank you. Say your name and spell your name.
My name is George Mayer, spelled Jorgemayor.
And your address, please.
4314 Bailey Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you. Sorry for butchering your name when I was reading in that case.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right, we'll go to the table. And I will have you both swear in. Who wants to swear in first? All right. So again, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand. Say, I do.
I do.
Your name?
Sam D'Amico, and that's SAMD''AMICO.
Your
And
address.
address is 1309 Ridge Road, Suite 4, Hinckley, Ohio.
And we'll move on to you. Again, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name?
John D'Amico, JOHN DAMICO, 1309 Ridge Road, Hinckley, Ohio.
Thank you. They'll do history of the property.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found only that in 1962, a permit was issued to erect a chain link fence. And there are no variances on file for this address. And then in the more recent history in our Acela system, we see that there were many permits regarding HVAC, electrical. There was a certificate of disclosure issued in that one, first one. In 2015, stating that the authorized use of the property is a single family. 2021, there was a permit to re-roof the property, another fence permit in 2023, and another certificate of disclosure was issued to the property in 2026, stating that the authorized use of the property is a single family. And that's all that I have. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Madam Secretary. Can we read it, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the accessory building requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you. Now we'll go to the project team who would like to speak first.
If it's all right, I would like to speak first. So I know I've got my friends from the Great Garage Company there in the room with you, but I do want to just introduce myself really quickly. My name is George Mayer. Me and my husband Nate moved into 4314 Bailey Avenue last summer in August of 2025 as renters, and we were fortunate to have been able to purchase the house from our landlord this past February. So we are now the owners. So we moved here last year from Philadelphia, mainly to be closer to Nate's parents who live in the area. But we also moved here in search of a higher quality of life and a more moderate cost of living. And Cleveland is really exceeding our expectations in both of those areas. We're really excited to be putting down roots in Cleveland and the Ohio City neighborhood, and we're looking forward to making some improvements to our property, starting with adding a garage to the rear of the lot. So parking on Bailey Avenue is already really, really tight, and there are 2 new houses nearing completion nearby, both on Bailey and on 44th Street, plus another house currently is for sale across the street from our house, and those will all further constrain street parking once those homes are occupied. And so being able to build a garage will allow us to park our car off street, freeing up parking for our neighbors and their guests. And with that, I'll pass it over to Sam and John to go over the design details.
Thanks, George.
All right, thank you for that. Go right ahead, you have the floor.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so what we're looking to do with the detached garage and the reason for its location, one, the majority of the detached garages on Peach are all kind of lined up very similar, almost the same way that we're going to be doing this garage. And we are trying to line up the, if you're looking at it from Bailey, the right side of the garage with the right side of the house to keep one line of the buildings going across. Which that lands us 7.5 from the left property line and 6'3" from the right. And there's not much else, location wise where that can go where it would meet the code requirements on either side of the lot due to the lot getting skinnier in the back with the irregular shape. That would have provided if that line, the left property line kept going straight back, we'd have another 2'3", which would get us a little bit closer, but due to the constraints of the lot, there's not really another location for this to go, and it is matching every other house set up in that alleyway with the garage in the back.
All right, thank you for that. Anyone else from the project team wish to speak? All right, hearing none, any questions from the board? Any comments from city planning?
There were no issues from city planning. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any correspondence, Madam Secretary?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, I will entertain a motion, please.
Madam Chair, testimony, excuse me, given the testimony we've heard this morning, and apparently the level of activity in this neighborhood is really focused on improvement, so that's great. But I move approval of calendar number 26-047.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Faye. Do we have a second?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
All right, thanks, Ms. Holder. Can we call the vote, please?
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 26-047 is granted. This will be ratified when the board meets again, which is June 4th. Once we ratify it, you can contact us that following Wednesday, I think it's June 6th, for further instruction. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck with your project. We'll now call calendar number 26-023. Do we have the appellant present? If so, we'll have you come forward. And while you do that, Ms. Holzer, please read in the case.
Madam Chair, we do have ample people in the room, and for the record, I will be recusing myself for this from this case. So I will read the case in and do the oath, and then will not be participating.
Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Holder. I guess before we do that, should we ask the appellant if they still want to go forward, given that we will only have 3 board members, or do they wish to wait for a full complement of the board?
Yes. Yes, Madam Chair, I will announce to the appellants right now that since we have Ms. Holzer recusing herself, you have 3 members that will be voting on this case. It must be unanimous in order for the motion to pass. If it doesn't pass, then the variance is denied based on the failed motion. So at this time,
over a year, so I think.
So at this
Unless
time, you may
think
request a
anything separate
postponement
from-
to a future date.
No, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Madam Chair, the appellant said they want to go forward.
Okay, very good. Ms. Holder, let's read in the case, please.
All right. Our next case is calendar number 26-023. This is at 1212/1260 Sumner Avenue. I'm so sorry if I butcher this. Eparchia of Our Lady of Lebanon, Los Angeles owner proposes to establish a surface parking lot / parking place with 99 spaces on a vacant lot in a semi-industry district in a central business district accessory for parishioners at 1245 Carnegie Avenue and as a parking place for hire as defined in chapter 457. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record of which there are, mine is showing 9. Is it 8?
There are none.
There are 9. Okay. I wonder, the slide is only showing 8. So there are 9 sections. With that, Madam Chair, I will administer the oath and then again, we'll be recusing myself. So is there anyone online who would like to swear in first? It doesn't look like it. Okay. I will swear in folks in the room. Are there, beyond the 2 at the table, are there more people who would like to speak? Hi, Councilman. Anyway, okay, so we'll start here. I will start with you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand.
I do.
Your name?
Father Patrick Kassab, PATRICK
And your address.
7800 Brookside Road, Independence.
Excellent. And then I'll read. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Raise your hand. Sorry?
I do, so I'll make God.
Your name?
I'm used to that in the beginning.
Yeah.
BOWEN.
And your address.
10924 Lake Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44102.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to swear in? Councilman, you can come to the
I
table.
didn't catch that name. Can I have you repeat your name, the person who just swore in?
David Bowen, BOWEN.
Perfect, thank you.
Council, I'm
Thank you.
give this microphone. I'll have you swear in, so raise your hand. Your name?
Richard Starr.
And then spell it.
RICHARD, middle initial A, STARR.
And your address.
601 Lakeside.
Thank you. Would anybody else in the room like to provide testimony today? If you're planning on speaking, we will need you to swear in.
If I could interrupt, I'm not going to offer testimony. I'm Chief Assistant Director of Law, David Roberts, here representing the city. I just wanted to put my name on the record.
Thank you, Chief Roberts. All right. If you are planning on swearing in, we'll go one by one, but you'll have the microphone. We'll have you swear in and then pass it to the next person who wants to swear in. And then when we are giving testimony, we'll go in order based off of who's sworn. Isn't it? Mm-hmm. All right, I'll have you raise your other hand, and then your name. Spell it.
T-I-E-R-R-E. Last name B-E-J-J-A-N-I.
Have you say I do.
I do.
And then your address.
7620 Square Flight.
Thank you. And then whoever else wants, we'll just go in order. Oh, we do have a court reporter, so you have to speak into the microphone, but also project into the room so that she can hear you. Can you hear her, Joy? Okay.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing them. I'm not sure if I'm the only one online who can't quite hear, but.
It's not on. Yeah, the microphone is not on.
Yeah, just.
Is it?
Thank you. All right, so I'll have you say I do. I do. And then your name? Judy Gazul Hilo. And then spell it. Judy GHAZOULHILOW. And your address? 12547 Lake Avenue, Lakewood, Ohio, 44107. Thank you. Who would like to swear in next? Else? Okay, we're good. There's one more, there's one gentleman.
My name is Mike. Last name is MALOOF, 689 Sugar Lane, Elyria, Ohio, 44035. And I might just have a question. Thank you.
And I'll have you say I do for the record. You do swear.
I do.
Thank you.
Ziad Figali, 300 Jean Drive, Seven Hills, Ohio, 44131. I do.
And can you spell your name for the court reporter?
ZIAD, last name Figali, FEGHALI.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to swear in?
Sure, I do.
Okay.
I will.
And then your name?
Danny Shaheen, DANY, last name CHAHINE, 6195 St. Joseph Drive, Seven Hills, Ohio, 44131.
Thank you.
And I do.
Thank you. And then I think I saw a hand in the corner over here. So we'll have you take the microphone as well. And have you raise your hand. Say I do.
George Kanan, I do. Last name is KANAAN, first name GEORGE. My address is 2119 Gloucester Drive, Lyndhurst, Ohio, 44124.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
All right, sounds like swearing in have concluded. Can we have history of the property, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. There are no records in our Records Administration Office on this address. We did find 2 variance cases on file in calendar number 17-295. USA Parking Systems appealed a Division of Assessments license order to cease and desist parking vehicles for hire on the site in 2017. That case was eventually withdrawn and no testimony was taken. And then also in calendar number 17-347, the owner at the time was 1235 Euclid Avenue, CLE LLC. They appealed for variances to construct a 99-space parking lot, and this was in 2018. But that case was also withdrawn and no testimony was taken. Then in the more recent history in our Acela system, we see that there was a violation notice issued in 2017 regarding illegal use as parking. Again, that's in and then the variance or the administrative appeal was followed that. And then in 2019, they applied for a 103-car parking lot. I do not see any variance following that, and it's stated as still open in the system. There was a certificate of disclosure issued in 2024 stating that the authorized use of the property is as vacant land. And that's all that I have that's relevant. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Madam Secretary. Can we have legal, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the surface parking lot, for hire parking lot, landscape plan, city planning commission review, bicycle parking space, and parking lot lighting requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. And then we have a note, section 349.14E states that in the case of a request for a variance to permit the establishment of a surface parking lot, which is prohibited by the regulations of section 349.14, the Board of Zoning Appeals shall grant such variance only if it determines that denial of the variance would deprive the owner of all reasonable economic use of the subject property. In making this determination, The board may seek the advice of experts in relevant fields and shall consider the potential for long-term as well as short-term economic gain.
Madam
All
Chair,
right, thank you for that. Yes.
Madam Chair, we have representatives from the city that also need to be sworn in.
Okay, very good, because I was just about to ask about the establishment of the youth that was denied. So I would love to have them swear in and
And who from the city will be, okay. All right. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand. Say I do.
I do.
Your name?
Callie Mersman, Calley Mersmann, Director, City Planning, 601 Lakeside Avenue.
Thank you.
And my name is Dan Schinkel, DANSHINKLE. I do, 601 Lakeside.
Mamos, I do. MATTMOSS, 601 Lakeside Avenue.
okay, perfect. Thank you all so much for swearing in. We're now going to go to the project team and have them speak. And then after they're done, I'll have members from the city give their comments. And then we'll go to the audience members who are present today. So who would like to start first from the project team?
Are you starting first, Councilman? Or do you want Father to start? Father to start. Father, go ahead.
Okay, so I will start. So why are we here? It's because a church that fits 475 people and that serves 2,200 families need a parking. And it's been since June 16 that we are coming to the city here to have meetings in order to secure this permit, to have this parking lot built. And here we have all these parishioners joining us today because we truly need this. We know that God is on our side. We know that we are on the side of Cleveland. Now we want to know if Cleveland is on our side, because it's been a headache since last June. Anyway, before they go into the technicalities and talk about the whole thing, I just want you to consider this. Consider us as a church, because perspective is everything. So please look at this file. And we are a church, which means we're not a business. We're not even a nonprofit. Even if we are a nonprofit, we're not. We're a church, which means we are the people who pray for Cleveland, who pray for you, who are sitting here today, who pray for your children. We are bread for the poor. We are a refuge for the immigrants. This is what a church is. So please look at this file here as a church, not as a business and not as even a nonprofit, because we are way more than this. We love Cleveland. We want to stay in Cleveland. Now, we want you to be also on our side and to have us stay in Cleveland as well.
All right, I'm going to start off because the Father said it, and I'm going to say it again. As
Can
part
you
of
just
this,
state your name before you give your comment?
David Bowen. So I'm going to start off because the Father mentioned that this is a church. They're not in it for economic gain. They're in it because of utility. They need the parking garage or parking lot for utility so they can park their patrons, their parishioners. And there's a lot of them that come in for this. It's very important to them. And I have handouts too that I'm going to, obviously, can the people in the audience on camera see that? Can they see it? But I'll hand it out.
I can scan them as well. I could take them and scan them.
This is, what I'm handing out is Holy Weekend. It was Good Friday. It was the Saturday masses. It was the Sunday Easter Mass. It's not just a church. It's all the peoples in the church, and it's their constitutional right to practice religion. And, you know, religion, you think about holidays, you think about Sunday. It's more than that. When you're born, you get baptized. It's your baptism. It's your first communion. It's your sacraments. It's getting married. It's when you're gone and your family celebrates your life. It's all of those things from cradle to grave. And if we forget about those kind of things, we forget about what the church is for. And so they need this parking for utility. You know, we talk about garages as simple, and I know something about garages. We do it for a living. That's one aspect of our business. When you do a parking garage, the amount of money you spend just starts. And I have documentation and I can share it with you. When you start needing repairs, the repairs of the garage are immense. Let me find it here. Anyhow, at Crittenden Court, there's a section of the parking garage that has to be redone. The section is about 28 feet by about 16 feet. The section that's the structural deck is over $160,000 to repair. The slab, basically on grade, is $8,000. So when we throw out numbers, you can just do this, you can do that. You have to think about what the church is there to do. And the expense, not just the initial expense, what's the ongoing expense? So I'll hand this out too, so you get an idea of what that looks like. So let's go back to the parishioners, because it is their constitutional right to go to church. And it's incumbent upon us to make sure that they have the ability to go to church. In your mind's eye, think about your daughter, your son. They're having a wedding. They've been planning for a year. They have the band. They have the food, everything set. It's coming up. And all of a sudden, the Cavs are in the playoff. Now, for their wedding, the people going to their wedding gets to pay $80 to park their car. That is not equitable. That's why the church needs it. The good thing is Building and Housing for the Holy Weekend gave the church a special pass for that weekend so they could park cars. So their people in the images you saw got to go without spending, most of them got to go without spending $80 to park. I think that's really, really important because you can't plan all these things. Someone passes in your family, you can't plan what day of the week that's going to be. You can't plan what's happening with either baseball or basketball or a concert or both things happening at once. That happens. And you can't plan for that. And for people to say the final goodbyes, I think it's criminal not to be able to at least do that. And there's a petition that went out. And in the petition, there's over 1,100 people that signed this petition asking BZA to approve this. And you can ask yourself, why are we here in BZA? Both design review and city planning were told they cannot approve this. It had to be done by BZA. So I don't know how joyful we were to get denied by them, but I guess it was part of the due process, which has taken well over a year, which has been difficult at best. And before I started with them and helping them, they spent another 7 months before that? So almost 2 years in doing this. There's businesses associated with this. Here's a letter from Aladdin's Bakery. And you can see that their trucks are parked on here. So it helps the whole community to have this parking. When you go through the zoning code, it has been sent to me numerous times. I obviously know the zoning code. You know, you go through this and there's a lot of things that talk about new development, expanded development. You'll see it in planning's 63 slide PowerPoint presentation that they talk about, you know, new, expanded. And that's discriminatory because this church has been there 100 years. I remember when my grandfather passed away, my mom's side of the family has been in Cleveland since the 1800s. There were no cars. They took the street top trolleys. People walked. There wasn't the suburbs then. There were farmlands. The church could not imagine you would pay $80 to park. This is something totally out of the realm of possibilities. And not that the church, you know, was upset that, you know, there's a baseball diamond, there's a basketball court. That's all good for Cleveland. It's good for the church, you know, but the parking has been the problem. They were able to purchase this property after numerous developers tried to develop it. And they were not able to do it. So now the question is, how is the church going to be able to do that when for-profit developers are not able to do it? You know, when I first started on this thing, I thought it was going to be pretty quick because I thought, for me, it seemed pretty simple that this should be something that would be approved. And I was wrong, obviously. But, you know, I think it did good for me because I was able to look up some more of the things around it. And from the DOJ, the Civil Rights Division, Federal Religious Land Use Protection. This was done in 2000. This was passed by Congress. And in the essence of this, Congress passed this in 2000s after hearing testimony that land use and zoning regulations often burden religious institutions seeking to exercise their faith as protected by the U.S. Constitution. I think that's pretty simple. I think we want to do this because we want people to have their constitutional rights upheld. I think adding a parking garage that, one, the church cannot afford. Two, and we had a meeting, it goes back to, let me see here, our first meeting with Councilman Starr, planning, and a lot of other people. There were a lot of people there. June 16th, 2025, almost a year ago. And at that time, planning was going to meet with economic development and find out if there were any dollars associated with it. We've never heard about any dollars. Nor do I think, you know, I think it would be hard for the city to give a church money under the Constitution. But that being said, there's no money. We would like this to be a viable parking lot for the church, and we ask for the variances to do it.
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Bowen.
So there's a couple of things. So I'm going to go through the slides now. That was my preamble. Okay. Sorry about that. As you can see here, this is the site right there. And the site is bounded by the church and also a sea of parking. All this is parking. That parking, in my opinion, is on Main and Main. That parking is the first site for redevelopment. And I think if that got redeveloped, is there a potential for something else to happen with the church's property? Perhaps. But for the church to try to do a development without something else is financially not feasible for them. And to maintain it is not feasible for them. They have a parking garage that they went out on the limb to build because it was right on Carnegie. They did the right thing. And they've been suffering with it and trying to do repairs and everything ever since. To have them do more would be unconscionable. So this is the sites that I was talking about that should be developed right away. These were taken this morning. Next slide, please. So back in January 30th of 2025, this is the lot consolidation plat that was brought into the city of Cleveland that Councilman Starr was supportive of. And this was to also vacate the street. Next slide. This shows you the street vacation of Bronson Court. Next slide, please. After our meeting, June 16th, the question was, what is possible? So when planning was going to go back to economic development, I went back to some really smart people. We've done a bunch of these things before. And I met with fire. And fire told me, well, you know, it's hard to get vehicles back there, fire vehicles back there. They really can't. And if we could give up some of the land, some of the parking for them, it would make it a better circulation for them to get to the back of buildings and stuff. The parking lot to the east, to the west, does not have that. You cannot get a fire truck back there. So this would enable all those things. And with electric vehicles and stuff that is almost impossible to put out, fire is a very important part of this thought process. So what we're showing here is our desire. We vacate the street. We have ingress and egress down Bronson Court for the fire trucks. And they have more space where the city can enlarge the roads and make that viable, and then do the parking lot inside. Next slide, please. And oh, by the way, we did look at a garage without giving it back to the property back. You can fit a parking garage. We're not telling you can't fit a parking garage. I wouldn't tell you that. We just say it's not economically feasible. And I don't know any parking garage in the city of Cleveland that hasn't been subsidized. I can tell you when we did Crittenden Court over 30 years ago, we lost $40,000 a month when we opened that up. I don't know any church that can manage that. So we can't fit a parking garage. You'd probably give up some fire access, which would be a problem, especially if there's electric vehicles in a parking garage. But that's not what we're into right now. Talking with the priest and the parishioners, we would like to do a parking lot. And by the way, I think having a parking lot for future value is even better. Because what happens is if someone does take the front parking lots and wants to make it a development, maybe they cut a deal with the church. They add parking garages, they give the church, a number of spaces, and then it becomes good. And they have something to negotiate with because they have parking there. And oh, by the way, I don't want to mess this up. Besides the variances, what we're asking for is to be able to park on it right away. Why we do all the legal documents for the street vacation, ingress, egress, and the drawings for the parking lot. Because we have baseball starting. There's a number of holidays, people's weddings, baptisms that are happening during games. Next slide, please. This kind of gives you an idea of what we have out there. We'd like to partner with the city. We'd like the city to improve the roads over there. We have a beautiful brick road that needs attention. We have streets that don't meet any kind of sense of code. And to have the streets redone and the lighting fixed over there, would be a benefit to everybody. Next slide, please. This shows you the alleyway in between some of the buildings. It's almost impossible to get a fire truck through there. So we think this would help with certain aspects of people's buildings and protecting them. Next slide, please. This shows you the parking lot to the west. I've said a couple of times that this would be the great first development opportunity because it's on Main and Main, where the church, when they were on Carnegie, they built a parking garage. And I think it would be a great obligation of someone to do a development here. Next slide, please. We'd like to get it cleaned up also. We tend to have like a scooter sale every day. There was quite a few scooters there today too, by the way. But you can see the gaining of access for the fire department. You can see the streets need help. And the cemetery probably needs to cut the grass more because the tree lawn wasn't doing very well today. Next slide, please. We talked about the $80 for parking, and you know, you could say, wow, look at that windfall. Look at how much the church could make. Yeah, at times, but then they have church and they're not charging their parishioners parking. Are there times that they may be able to? Yes. $5 parking does not pay for a garage. And you have a huge lot right in front of them on Main and Main that charges $5 on a daily basis. Except for special games, it's anywhere from $40 to $80 to park. I think that's the end of my slide presentation, but I just want to talk again. We're going to see a report from planning. It's 63 pages long. And there's some things I would like to highlight in here. On one of the sheets, it talks about that they discourage any further land lot or land parking lots without new development. 100-year-old church that has a sanctuary, has an entertainment area, does not need any more spaces except for parking. This is discriminatory for long-established organizations. There's another slide in here that talks about new development, expansion, or redevelopment. I don't think the church is going to redevelop anytime soon. No. Also discriminatory, which goes back to the Ruflo law. Talks about demolition. I want to be very clear. The church did not demo these buildings. Developers who were going to do a development there and were unable to make it pencil for years, which is more difficult today than it was back then. We're not able to do it. And to force a church to do something like that when they didn't demo the buildings and they have no need for any redevelopment except for parking. They have 120 spaces for almost 500 people in a sanctuary.
Madam Chairman, I'm going to ask for a point of order. This is Chief Assistant Director of Law, Dave Roberts. We've seen Mr. Bowen's presentation on behalf of the eparchy, and now it's the city's chance to put on its presentation. I don't think it's appropriate for Mr. Bowen to be looking through the city's presentation ahead of time and trying to change the way you perceive it as members of the board before we present it.
Well, can I ask a question?
I tend
This
to
was the
agree with that,
presentation.
Mr. Bowen.
Pardon me?
Hold on one second. I tend to agree with the counselor's statements as they were made. You have given your presentation. You've given us a preamble. We've heard you out the entire time. Is there anything new that you would like to add to your testimony before we move to the next person who needs to speak?
Well, one, this isn't something that was given to me just yesterday or out of court, so to speak. This was done for design review. It was done for city planning. They were instructed not to pass it, even though Bialowski said in design review, why are we having such a long presentation here? He was ready to approve this. He said, would you do this? And this is
wait,
coming from Jack
Mr.
Bialowski.
Bowen, hold on one second. Hold on one second. My question to you is regarding your comments that you're making to the board. And I'm asking if you have any additional comments regarding your variance request. Once we
I'll
get
just
to
make-
the
I'll
city
just
and
make
their
one more-
statements, I'll give you an opportunity. Hold on a second. Let me finish,
Okay.
please. Once we hear from the city, I'll give you an opportunity as the project team to rebuttal. But I think at this point, to try and get ahead of it, and we haven't heard it yet, it's just not the most productive thing for us to do. So if you don't have anything else to add, then I'll move forward and I'll circle back to you on rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. But I just want to add one more thing. And,
Okay, one last thing, and then we're going to move along.
The one last thing is what Jack Bialowski asked, the question. Would we be doing this if it was a business? If it was 3,000 employees in a business, would we be ushering them out of the city? And I'll close with that.
All right, thank you so much for your comment. I will now
Madam
turn
Chairman,
to-
I'd like to cross-examine Mr. Bowen and Father Kassad, if I may.
Okay, yes, Mr. Roberts, please, you have the floor.
Father Kassad, you said you run a church. Yes. You call that St. Marin. We saw the building up there, beautiful building. The eparchy of Our Lady of Lebanon of Los Angeles, that's equivalent of the diocese. Many of us may not be familiar with that word, but that's the equivalent of the diocese. Now, the diocese made the decision to buy this parcel. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, and the diocese can make decisions about how to develop it. And the diocese can decide whether it's feasible to find the money to develop it, to make money off of it. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And currently, the lovely church building we saw, now that's not a business, right? That's just a church.
Yeah.
That's the spiritual side. Now, the church built a parking deck, and that's partly for the church, right? When people come to the church, they can park in the parking deck, but it's also a business, isn't it?
You mean the parking garage?
Yes.
Yes.
So it makes a lot of money, especially when people come down for ball games.
No, that's the thing. No, it doesn't.
When I say a lot of money, let me propose this. I'm not talking about net. I'm talking about gross.
Yes, that's
people
the thing.
pay to park there, and that money goes to
the church. Yes,
okay.
It does. Not all of it.
Right.
Not
So
all of it.
To that extent, right? You would want the church to run that to make more money, not less, right?
Exactly.
So isn't that the essence of a business operation?
Exactly.
So the church runs a business operation at the existing parking garage.
Not the church, because it's a lease. So we have a parking company who is running the parking for us because we're not a business, so we don't have people to run it.
So you get rent from the company
We
that
get
runs
rent.
it.
No, the rent barely pays the maintenance cost on this garage that we have.
So it's a losing business. It's losing money.
It is. And we
I'm
believe
sorry to
that-
hear that.
Yeah.
But your goal would be for it to make money, right?
Obviously, yes.
And the eparchy's goal for the other lot that we're talking about today, if it could find a way that it could make money, it could choose to do that.
That's not the purpose or the goal. The purpose is to have parking. Now, if we don't make...
Let me just jump in. Let me jump in. You're asking...
I'm answering.
Father Kassad, but you're asking for the right to have a surface parking lot where you charge customers money to park there.
No. Let me explain. We want a surface parking lot for us to be able to park. If it doesn't cost us anything, nor give us anything in return, it's fine. If the balance is zero at the end of the year, that's the ideal. Now, if it's making a little bit more money for the church, why not? No one is gonna say, oh, I don't want more money. If it's losing money, it's a problem. But the main reason is not money at all. Now, about just to clarify something about the
If I could just jump in. So I think we agree. It's not the main reason. The parking deck is not the main reason, but it is both. It is both for the church and for business.
100%. Like there is,
Okay.
yes. Now, just to explain something about the relationship with the eparchy and what that is, because I don't want it to look like it's a formal business, let's say, that have the money that can invest. The eparchy, so we are the Maronite Catholic Church. We are Eastern Catholics. Most of us are from Lebanon and Syria. 99%, let's say, of our population are from Lebanon and Syria. They came to the United States. So we don't have a diocese in every city because we are minorities. So we have one eparchy based in Los Angeles, and in every state we have one church or two in every state. So the eparchy in California runs all the churches all over the United States, and we are part of them as an entity. Now, does that mean that they have the money to invest? Absolutely not, because they are as broke as we are. So
did you bring anyone from the eparchy today?
Oh, yes. Oh, no. No, they're not going to fly from California here.
If I could now, I'd like to have questions for Mr. Bowen.
Sure.
So, Mr. Bowen, you heard they're explained. You got to show that there is a practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship based on this parcel. You understand that that's the burden that the eparchy has to show today?
Well, I think, so there's only one reason why they need the parcel, and that's for parking. It's a hardship to try to make it a parking garage with a development or a parking garage at all. This parcel was not available. And you got to remember, a church is far different and people's freedom of religion.
I was trying to get to a preamble here. Do you understand that there are three things the eparchy needs to show to qualify for the variance? You might convince the board members that it would be great for the church. I think everybody's on the side of the church. Nobody wants the church not to expand the way it wants. But the law says everyone in the district has to not have a service lot except under limited conditions that you didn't meet. Now, you can always seek a variance, as anyone can. And the variance says, of all the parcels here, there's something special about mine. So I shouldn't have to follow the same rules as everybody else.
It is something special. It's contiguous.
Well, let me ask you
Also,
some
it
questions
was
if
for
I could.
sale, and they could buy it.
Is this size make it a hardship
Sure it does.
to develop it? Is it
Absolutely
big enough to develop housing?
It does, and I'll tell you why. Because you have years of people trying to develop it into housing, and they were unable to do it. And believe me, we do drawings.
Okay, but if I could just go one thing at a time, Mr. Bowen, if I could do one thing at a time. Does the size of it prevent it from being developed, as in it's too small to develop?
Financially, it makes it impossible.
Leaving finances aside.
Is it small? It is small.
We heard an earlier variance today granted, man had a strangely shaped parcel. This isn't strangely shaped, is it?
No.
It's a rectangle.
It fits perfectly for a
And
parking lot.
the topography of it could be unique, but this isn't steep, it's flat, correct? And road access could make a parcel unique, like if you're landlocked and you can't get to that parcel from the road, but you have roads on all four sides of this parcel. So that's not a problem. So what about this parcel is making it have a unique hardship or practical difficulty?
Now also size, it's small. Like what can you build on this lot?
I mean, you can show things all day long to make it that it works right now has been impossible to do. And I think to just say you can't park on this because, you could fit something on it there's a property right across the cemetery that just went for a short sale.
Let me jump in here.
Because they couldn't make financial sense out of it.
Let me jump in here, Mr.
50
Bowen.
cents on the dollar.
Mr. Bowen, you make a very strong case. You're very articulate. I guess I want you just to answer my questions. Then we'll have an argument at the very end.
I'm gonna answer your question with a question.
I'm sorry? Oh, well, one at a time, she says. One at a
So
time.
yeah,
I
we
feel
have a
sorry
lot
for
of
you.
people
Just want to ask
talking
one
at
last
once in the
time,
room.
if you can articulate what is unique about this parcel, unlike the other parcels in the district, that is giving you this difficult.
I'm gonna ask you a question. If you look at the land that you just show, if you are an investor, would you invest in this and build anything yourself? If you are a business owner, you have the money. Would you invest there? I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I have reason. I look at it from outside. I would never pay a dime to build anything there. And
Yes.
I dare any businessman, I dare any businessman with right reason would pay a dime there.
Let's imagine.
Please, let's be very clear about it. Let's be very reasonable.
Father
They would
Christoph.
never be a possibility.
We have a court reporter that
guys.
cannot hear both.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. We have to do one at a time. We all agree on that. We got to do one at a time. All right. So I will end my questions to you there, and we can move on to the next phase of the proceeding. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And
All right,
also
thank you,
to the,
Mr. Roberts.
to the audience, Madam Chair, I'm sorry to speak over you, but to the audience, you're making it difficult for us to hear the people at the table and our court reporter cannot hear the people at the table. So if you have a comment, please raise your hand and wait for us to call on you.
Okay, so now we're
He's
gonna
the attorney for the
allow-
city of Cleveland, Chief Assistant Roberts. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that, Madam Secretary. And I will also reiterate that it's difficult for the board members who are online to hear everyone at once. So unless you're acknowledged by the chair, please hold your comment until you have that acknowledgement. So with that being said, I will allow the director, Kelly Mersman, to have her minutes on the floor, and then we'll go to the next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dan Schinkel, Principal Planner, will do the staff report next.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to walk through our report for this case here. When we look at the variance criteria that the applicant has to meet, as Chief Roberts was getting at, there's 3 typical criteria. You guys are very familiar with those. We don't see how they're running into practical difficulties. We don't see how there's a deprivation of substantial property rights. There's a lot of options available to the owner. The owner has actually previously complied with the code via their existing parking deck. And in terms of being, contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code, we'll cover that in a bit more detail. As was mentioned at the start too, there's an additional variance power that has to be reviewed from 349.14. And what that says for the Board of Zoning Appeals in cases like this, the board shall grant such variance only if it determines the denial of the variance would deprive the owner of all reasonable economic uses. And so there's a lot of other reasonable economic uses for this site that we'll discuss. I did want to just introduce the code section itself. This is part of Chapter 349, off-street parking and loading. And the section within that 349.14 is the surface parking lot within designated downtown areas, and this is that here. Just so that I could talk about the purpose and intent of the code, I want us to understand what the code is. So the purpose of the code as it's defined within Chapter 349 is to limit the establishment and expansion of surface parking lots, especially in our most urban architectural zones, most intensely developed zones, preserve that character and that density of downtown. It was also to reduce auto emissions and traffic congestion, and to do so without discouraging new development. The code does define multiple designated districts. They are geographic, and I'm putting that up on the screen here. This project is within the Gateway designated district. And so what the code says is that certain new surface lots in these districts are prohibited. And essentially what the applicant is proposing is simply just prohibited by code in these geographic zones. In few exceptions, the commission can approve a surface lot. And in these cases, these are the four exceptions. So there could be a temporary surface lot as part of a development plan. It can be an accessory parking lot, again, as part of a new development or expansion or redevelopment. It could be an action area or a vacant lot, neither of which were the case. The commission never received any development plans that would allow it to approve of anything, and that's why they were denied by the commission. I have each one of these options here if we would like to refer to the code. But what I wanted to focus on is what BZA's authority is within this code section. So the Planning Commission can approve 1 year temporary lots with a development plan. We could provide that 1 year twice over, so they could get 2 years of a temporary lot as they're developing. And in this case, the board would be able to extend that beyond the 2 years, just on 1 year increments. So if the applicant did look at doing a temporary lot, they could come before the board and extend beyond 2 years. In this case, though, the applicant is looking to establish a permanent surface lot. And so this is where, the board only would grant such variance if it would deprive the owner of all reasonable economic use. The board is able to seek the advice of experts in relevant fields. We do have a couple members of our development office here that can speak to that if the board is requests. And when reviewing that, the board is to look at short and long-term economic gain. Again, we see there's a lot of options for reasonable economic uses here. Excuse me, that could be a parking deck, that could be a restaurant, that could be residential mixed use. Just in terms of what the code is established for, there's all sorts of varieties, a community center, so on and so forth. Just some quick background. Again, this is the site. As Chief Roberts alluded to, a pretty typical rectangular site, very close to the Gateway District. A quick history here. In 2005, the City Planning Commission approved a demolition of a building that was on this site. The associated development plans for that were presented, but never realized. And that was brought by USA Parking. Later in 2018, USA Parking proposed to establish a permanent surface lot. That was postponed. In 2020, there was a proposal for a mixed-use residential structure here. It was actually approved conceptually in January of 2020, and obviously COVID hit in March of that year. So we think that had an impact on the development of the project at that time. And then in 2026, just this year, the Planning Commission denied the proposal for the surface lot. So to discuss the why behind the ordinance, like what's the purpose and intent of this code? I'm going to jump through some slides here over history, but here is where you see the Greyhound Garage. That was the building that formerly was situated here. You could also see just the amount of density that is within this district. Lots of buildings, very, very few surface parking lots. However, in the 1970s and 80s, you really see this rise of auto-oriented uses, and that resulted in a lot of demolitions of our downtown areas for new surface parking lots. And if you just compare these two, in the whole of downtown, we're talking in the hundreds of buildings that were demolished for surface lots. So this was a major, major impact on our city. In the 1990s, when the Gateway development was commencing, both the Progressive Field and Rocket Arena, they knew that we had to address this expansion of surface lots and that this would, create potentially even more parking demand. So that's when we passed the ordinance. And at that time, the church built a parking deck to deal with that demand. That's also the time where the Greyhound building was demolished, and unfortunately the development plans never materialized. But really since that time, we've seen that expansion of surface lots stop. So it's proof that this code is working, that we're preventing this, excessive increase of surface lots to the detriment of all other uses, things like residential, commercial, office, mixed use. In this review of the code, we did a comparative study. So looking at the Gateway District amongst all other stadium districts, when we look at Gateway, on the west side of Gateway, it's very dense. Tower City, the heart of downtown, right? It's our core. On the east side of Gateway, it's much more like this, lots of surface parking lots, right? When you look at stadium districts around the country, you see two things happening. One is either, Philadelphia is a great case study in this. One is either surrounding these stadiums with copious surface parking lots. And you could see just how large and excessive these lots are in Philadelphia. You could see in this view too, just the amount of density and other land uses that are possible on all those surface lots. And the parking desert that is made that you're made to walk through, and how that really takes away from the vibrancy of a downtown. Other places in the nation are following this Atlanta model. These are, not parking averse. These are heavily developed sites that have plenty of parking decks, but they create a vibrant downtown space, right? So they're using this is good land use policy, essentially, right? They're making sure that development happens here, that you're getting bang for your buck out of that land. It's not just a surface parking lot. It's not a desert to walk through to the stadium. You actually have a really lovely experience to get there with restaurants, retail, office spaces, residential, and you can still see here in the back, there is parking provided. They're just within decks. So this is really the question that the code is trying to address is density versus heavy surface parking lots. And that does play out here in Cleveland, and we're sort of in the middle of it. And so you see on the left, that's 1060 Bolivar, a building that was just constructed last year. It has a parking deck built within it and also residential. And then you see the East 14th lots here in Cleveland, so we're in the midst and essentially we're trying to move towards the Atlanta model as opposed to the Philadelphia model with that code. There's always parking studies downtown. The Gateway District was found to be the second highest daily max rate parking. So there's opportunity here from an economic perspective to make things work. And just to talk about development downtown, in this district, we're seeing a lot of new development. So you could certainly talk about development being difficult, but we're seeing a lot of people find ways to make this work. 1060 Bolivar, right across the cemetery from this site, was the most recent to do so. But the Lumen, 776 Skyline, the Beacon, these are all new developments. And then a lot of new renovations as well happening all around town. You especially see this on the Huron Prospect area, 700 Prospect renovation, 668. So there's a lot of new development happening. And this is just to illustrate like how that development impacts us. We're getting a transition from these surface lots that are not adding much to our city and seeing these mixed use, they oftentimes include actually, and every time include parking within them, but you're getting more out of your land use in the core of our downtown. And as I said, 1060 is leasing up now. Before I mentioned that COVID impacted that development at this particular site, I just wanted you guys to see what was proposed for this site. Again, parking included, but with residential and mixed use, and you could see how that lays out. So there's nothing about the site that is difficult to develop. It's a pretty typical lot that can be developed. And so what you're seeing on the left here is all of these cars that are shown on the surface lot could fit in the deck that's in one building on the other side of the cemetery. So this is really the point of the land use code, is to find the best land uses, making sure that the core of our downtown reflects the vibrant district that we need it to be. I do want to applaud like St. Marin over time built this 3-story deck. It's really aesthetically pleasing. It's beautifully designed. It adds a lot to the character of the street up on Carnegie. It's a great use, and I know that they get a lot of use out of it with 120 spaces. The church also did look at developing this over time, so it was a phased approach. In 96, they raised the building to make way for the deck. In 97, they started the deck. In 98, they expanded it, and in 2001, they added the 3rd story. So they understand phased development and were able to do this before. In 2024, they bought the property for about $1.9 million. you know, it feels that they're already making some funds on the existing parking deck. So in terms of financing, it feels like there's opportunity here, again, from an economic use that the board has to use as part of their variance powers. You know, we're in the heart of the action here. There's over 4 million visitors annually just to the Gateway District, almost 40 million to downtown. People are going to be looking for parking. People are going to be looking for housing as well. So there's opportunities for economic activity here. The church has told us that they need about 300 spaces. The existing garage is about 120. The proposed surface lot is only 90 more spaces, so they would still need another 90 to meet their parking goal. And so, you know, even if we found some legal way with the current proposal, they wouldn't address their total issue. And that's why we come back to, you know, development potential. Things like parking decks are ways to get the demand that you need. I also wanted to point out that the national average parking deck via RS Means, which is an industry standard construction quoting service, that's a 5-story deck for about 13.7 million. That figure sounds high, right? But in the Gateway District, when you charge $50, $60 for parking for major events, that's a net annual proceed of $2 to $5 million. So this shows that things like decks are, especially in districts like this, are feasible and actually pay themselves off much quicker. We also looked at other downtown churches just to understand, like, how are they working through this parking issue, right? Most of them own their own garages or have agreements with adjacent garages. Those that have agreements typically have some form of parking validation. There's on-street parking permits, in particular Old Stone Church, which is right on Public Square. You know, that's an on-street parking permit. We've mentioned this to the church as an option. You know, Sumner's not heavily parked most of the time, so that certainly could be something they follow. And then all the churches downtown mention to their congregations to utilize public transit. So just to wrap things up, we want to be very supportive of the church. They previously invested in a parking deck. We know that that's been helpful for their operations. We want them to have sustainable revenue sources. We want them to flourish for another 100 years. But in this case, to establish a permanent lot, you know, we don't see how it's meeting these variances. The other options available to them, like temporary lots and development plans, those are all options that they have as opposed to this zoning code. So with that, we only see legally only one way, and that's to deny.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Shinko. I would like to ask you a question. If we can go back to the point of your slide where you said there were other options. And I think one of them was the temporary lot. There was another option that had a vacant lot, which was the bottom option. I just want to ask you a question about that and make sure that the board is clear about the city's position there.
Yeah, so what this code says in 349.14, it must have been vacant.
I'm sorry. Can we go back one more? I just want to make sure we are on the same slide that I'm imagining.
So you're probably thinking of the...
Yeah, there it is.
This one.
Whoops.
Sorry.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know that we have a vacant lot here. So can you speak to number 4 and, you know, the impact of how that is assessed in this case?
Yeah, well, this is how Planning Commission makes its rulings, right? So these are options to the commission. In this case, the lot would have to be vacant prior to the code being written. And prior to 1997, or even after 1997, this was the Greyhound Garage. So this was not vacant on the initial effective date. You know, it was a garage for many years through that time.
Perfect. That answers my question. Thank you so much. All right. Did that conclude your comments, Mr. Shinko, or were you going to say something else?
Madam Chair, this is Callie Mersman. I do have a few comments, but we have some members of the congregation also raising hands. So I'll yield to your order and how you want to take people.
Yes, you can please go ahead and give your comments, Director.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. Again, Callie Mersman, Director of City Planning. Thank you, Dan, for that presentation. As you've seen, the code is very specific and very intentionally strict about establishing surface parking lots in the downtown. And we've seen the why in terms of how our downtown fabric has sort of been dissolved, and then we're working to rebuild. So that is at the core of our work in the City Planning Commission. We do take our responsibility to uphold the code very seriously. That being said, we are not against the church. We are very supportive of the church here and really want to work with you guys to figure out how to meet your parking desires and needs in a way that is consistent with these broader overarching goals for the downtown. We see a lot of pathways forward for that. I know that today there has been mention of things not being financially viable. We haven't seen any numbers. We have not been able to participate in conversations with the church about economic viability, cost of development, potential parking revenues, like really getting into those details to understand what your realities are and how that compares to this code. So part of the code talks about what is possible economically, and we just have not had any of that detailed information from the church to really understand. And so from our perspective, as we have been in these conversations for almost a year, as has been alluded to, that is where we have been really hoping to get to, a collaborative conversation with the church, understanding what your realities are and how we can match those with our realities, working toward a stronger downtown. From what we have seen so far and what we would submit to the Board of Zoning Appeals, the church and representatives have not provided evidence to meet the legal thresholds that we have gone over here today. But I would reiterate that the city continues to be here. We're very interested in working with the church as much as possible to redevelop in line with the code. And that is an offer that stands open whenever you would like to pursue that discussion. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Liz Kukla. The councilman has been raising his hand as well. Would you like to hear from him next?
Yes, if you would like to go next, I would love to.
Thank you, everybody. Like you've heard from previous individuals who spoke today regarding this support, I definitely want to make sure I come and speak to the committee. First, thank you for allowing this to be here today. This is something that is very difficult and tough to just deal with. And one of the things that is challenging is this is something that I do support, an opportunity for a surface lot for a church. So I did put some words together just to make sure I stay on topic, because if you give me a mic too long, I might go all night, and we're not trying to be here all night. But I definitely want to be clear that today, this discussion is not simply about asphalt or parking spacing or zoning language. This is about whether the city of Cleveland is willing to work fairly and reasonably with the church and a historic institution that has invested in the city of Cleveland for generations. So when you talk about a church that has been there for over 100 years, long before any new developments, entertainment districts, and downtown investment, we celebrate today. This church was already here serving families, preserving culture, supporting the community, and helping keep faith alive in the heart of the city. And now the question before us is whether that institution can adopt and survive in a changing downtown environment in which we find different changes each and every day. I do understand planning department's concerns regarding permanent surface parking lots. I understand their long-term vision for density, redevelopment, walkability, and urban activation. Those are legitimate goals that I believe we should work towards. But government also has a responsibility to apply those goals fairly, consistently, and with common sense. Because when you talk about the churches and you talk about these religious institutions, we are not talking about ordinary land use. Now, you heard earlier from Mr. Bowen when he brought up federal laws recognize that the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act exists specifically because local governments across this country have oftentimes used zoning and land use regulations in a way to unintentionally burden religious institutions. I do not want to be on the front page of the newspaper noticing that we did not do everything with the city of Cleveland to support a religious institution that's been over there in Ward 5 in this Carnegie area for over 100 years. And whether intentional or not, we have to ask ourselves an important question. Are we making it harder for this church to continue operating downtown? Because access matters, parking matters, operational sustainability matters. For seniors trying to attend worship services, parking is not a luxury. For families bringing children to church, parking is not a luxury. For a historic church trying to generate some revenue to preserve its long-term future, parking is not a luxury. It's a survival. So now let's be clear about another reality here. Downtown Cleveland already accommodates parking infrastructure tied to entertainment, events, business activity, and commercial development. So the concern many residents and a lot of the members of the congregants have is whether a church is being held to a stricter standard than other entities operating in the same environment. That is just a fair question that I've come to learn about the last year and a half. I appreciate the communication that we continue to have between myself, the administration, as well as the applicants. That is the right direction we need to be moving in, because this issue should not become a battle between planning policies and religious liberty. Cleveland is capable of protecting both. What I support is a practical, balanced solution, a solution that represents the city long-term planning goals, while also recognizing the operational realities facing a historic faith institution in downtown Cleveland. That means flexibility, that means accommodation, that means consistency, and that means recognizing that preserving an institution like St. Mary's Church is also a part of preserving the identity and the history of Cleveland itself. We cannot say we value culture, heritage, diversity, and community anchors, and then make it impossible for those institutions to function in the modern environment and we created around them. So I just want you to understand that I understand the decisions that was made with city planning, design review, and also understanding that this committee here has an opportunity to make things right, because I don't want to see us going through a federal court battle regarding laws that protects institutions like this church today. And I want you to understand that when you talk about 100 space parking garage, I looked up data from as late as early as 2025. They're saying for 100 space parking garage, it costs roughly around $2.5 to $5 million on average. Asking the church to put that together just seemed absurd to me, and that becomes a burden. And that's when you start talking about the religious land use institutionalized federal act. That law that prohibits us from using our own charter amendments, using our legal terms to be able to prevent an institution such as a church to using their space to be able to help support the work that they do. Like I said, we've continuously dealing with changes right now. Prime example, dealing with this on-street parking that I have not been in support of because we have not did the proper vetting, and I continue to be the one to get blamed by residents for what we're doing. We got roundabouts in places where businesses are here. We hear the city say that the data, the planning, it made sense, but it don't when you talk about reality. So we're trying to just line it up from my standpoint that I do support a surface parking lot at this parcel that we have here. That is before us, and I do support the work that we're doing, but we got to also sometimes put aside from what we're interpreting things and look at things from more a reality standpoint than just about the perception. And I thank you, committee, for allowing me to speak.
All right, thank you for that, Councilman. We appreciate your comments. I'm now going to give the floor to Mr. Lowe if you want to give comments at this time.
Madam Chair, the appellant has his hand raised as well.
Okay, I'll come back to the appellant after we hear from the city in full. So we have one more person to make comments from the city, and then we'll give the appellant an opportunity to rebut. Mr. Lowe?
Madam Chair, I'll just say the city, so when the board is making a review such as this, you guys are able to seek advice from experts in relevant fields. Can you guys hear me?
Here, let me jump in. What Mr. Schinkel is saying is the board has the ability to hear from experts about the economics of the parcel. We brought someone from our development who could testify to you about that. I think we've heard from the plaintiff, their testimony that it's not workable. You heard from Mr. Schinkel testimony that it is workable. And so I don't know, Madam Chairman, if you want to continue the hearing to hear from the gentleman from development or not.
I would love to hear from the gentleman from development specifically regarding the feasibility of a parking structure. And if anyone has any comments regarding the previous development, I know that there's been statements that previous development plans were made, they were not realized. I just want to make sure that there's nothing particular to this site that would prevent development going forward, like no brownfield or any other issues that we should consider as we're making our decision about feasibility.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'm happy to provide what testimony I can on that. My name is Matt Moss. I'm the Deputy Director for Land Strategy and Asset Redevelopment with the City of Cleveland's Department of Development. I think what I have to say, or at least the subject in which you asked me to testify, has already been touched upon by the Director of Planning and by Dan Schinkel regarding the cost to develop a garage here. I want to reiterate that in making this determination or advising boards and commissions onto, as to these questions, we rely on information provided by applicants and appellants because the properties across the city of Cleveland are unique in some way or can be unique in some way. There can be characteristics specific to the site that affect whether that is cost prohibitive or cost permissive. And whether all we've been able to rely on because of the lack of information from the applicants has been pointing to general standards for how much it costs to build these types of structures. As to whether it's feasible or not based on the cost, it appears to be, given the information that we have available to us, that a garage could be feasible here. But again, the standard under which we understand the Board of Zoning Appeals to be reviewing this is that you can only grant the variance. You can grant the variance only if you have determined that there is no other viable economic use of this property. And so we don't believe that standard has been met based on the information that we have available to us and the information that's been provided by the appellant.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Moss. We appreciate those comments. I'm going to open it up to the board. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Moss in terms of his expertise regarding feasibility?
Madam Chair, I would like to revisit the comment that was made about the temporary parking lots. And if the city planners, I think Ms. Mersman has stated that there hasn't been any economic planning for development that has proceeded at this particular point in time. But do they foresee that happening in the near future? I really want it to be fully understood that we're talking about a church here. We're not talking about just a generic Catholic church. We're talking about a Catholic church that serves a specific community. And as the councilman stated, I want to be very sure that we're clear that we're not limiting the ability of the church that serves a very specific community, that we're not limiting them so that they are not able to operate. I feel like we're maybe looking at the macro planning as opposed to the micro planning. How is the grandmother in the wheelchair going to get to service on Sunday? And the children that need to go for communion, the babies in the strollers, and are we thinking of them as well as the betterment of the community? So I'd like someone to speak to that, Mr. Moss, Ms. Mersman. If you want to work toward planning that area of the city, of the Gateway Zone, what are we doing to work with the church to do that, and what needs to happen? And talk to us more about that temporary parking situation, please.
Thank you, Ms. Faith, for the questions. This is Callie Mersman again. The temporary parking lots are part of code that gives Planning Commission the authority to approve temporary surface parking lots as a sort of prelude to approved development plans. Because we have not received any development plans or development interest from the church, the Planning Commission is not able to approve a temporary parking lot on the site. Although if the church were to come forward or work with us to develop future development plans, that option would be available to Planning Commission, and the church could get approval and permits for a temporary parking lot, as Dan went through in his presentation. To your questions about church access and parishioner access, that's of course something that we want to cultivate and preserve as well. As we've talked about, the church does have their own parking garage that provides some dedicated parking spaces that are directly under their control, right next to the church for folks who have mobility issues or other challenges to getting there. You know, Dan also went through options that other churches in the downtown area pursue to provide parking other than surface parking lots, which include constructing garages, property agreements with nearby neighbors, even working with the city for on-street parking adjacent to the church. When we think about what Planning Commission is interested in pursuing, you know, this is a privately owned lot, so it is not our property to plan for or develop, but based on what we know and the economics of property so close to this very vibrant entertainment district, we do see an avenue. We believe there is an avenue for the church to have the parking that they want and say that they need on this parcel that's very close, adjacent to their church, while staying consistent with the spirit of the code and the goals of the code for downtown. And so that is what we have been trying to pursue in partnership with the church. What we continue to be interested in pursuing is really talking about and better understanding from their perspective what the numbers are that would allow us to get to that point. We have offered to them conversations with our Department of Development. We do need a little bit more information from them about the specifics of the parcel and what type of additional development may support their congregation to inform those. We have also looked at some of the timing that's within our current code, thinking about the timing of temporary lots and what makes sense for them. But again, all of those conversations really come to bear on the details of the economics of this parcel, which, as Mr. Moss said, we are not privy to at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Mersman.
Madam Chair, we have hands raised in the audience as well as the opponent's hand raised.
Okay, Ms. Faith, did that conclude your question?
It does at this time. I think,
Okay.
Madam Chair, I might suggest as we proceed with public comment that we invoke our meeting limitations, our meeting guidelines for timing.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that, considering we have a number of other individuals that we have to hear. Before I move on, does Mr. Madison, do you have any questions that you need to have answered at this time? If not, I will start to hear from members of the public.
No, not at this time.
Okay,
Thank you, Madam
perfect.
Chair.
Thank you,
Not
Mr.
at this time.
Madison. Absolutely. So now we'll go to members of the public, and I did take your names down. I do apologize if I don't get them right. The first one I have is Tierra Villani.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very surprised by all of these fancy presentations that the director and the council here is presenting. This is not a business property. As the councilman said, this is a church. The church has grown tremendously within the years. People are coming to church. They're coming every time, every day. We need more space to park. This is not, they're turning it into an investment property. This is not investment. You want to take an investment, get somebody to invest and make something out of different stuff. You have enough investment in the city. This is for the church. It's enough. It's enough giving her time. What, by God's sake, Mr. Richards, turn it. You're trying make something out of nothing, Mr. Richards. This councilman is the one who really said it the right way. I'm sorry. Okay. So I'm a parishioner. I've been a parishioner for over 40 years at this church. This church has existed for over 100 years, and we need more space. The church is growing, and so
It is not right to be here today. This should have been an easy 1, 2, 3 church needed. It's an empty lot next to the church. There is nothing on it. Do you have other investment coming? Miss Director, get the other investment somewhere else. Yeah, I'm sorry. I get a little bit excited about this stuff because this is not right. This is absolutely incorrect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's very good.
All right, thank you for your comments.
Thank
I
you
now
very
have
much.
Judy on the list.
Thank you very
to go
much.
next.
My
Mhm.
name is Judy Gazul Hilo. I have been a proud parishioner of St. Maron for 63 years. And I am here as a finance committee member. I'm here as a supporter of continuing our relationship with the city of Cleveland, in the city of Cleveland, with our parish, who has been in that position, in that spot since 1930. I want to mention that the largest owner of property in this city is the Diocese of Cleveland. And within that, one of the biggest revenue items that they have is being able to charge people for rent at their properties. And then they also demand a stipend from each of those parishes they own in the city of Cleveland. And so what we're doing is a fiduciary responsibility to our church. If we see that we can make a profit from what is existing, of course we're going to do that. It shouldn't be this negative thing. It should be a matter of business. I am the executive director of Malachi House, a nonprofit who serves the homeless who are terminally ill. I'm also an accountant with Ernst & Young at Ernst & Winnie, actually, which means I'm a businesswoman also and have a fiduciary responsibility to that nonprofit. It's also a business. We have to be run as a business with revenues and expenses and in a way to keep us going. The city of Cleveland has been one of our biggest cheerleaders since my grandfather was here over 125 years ago to establish this church. It is my responsibility to ask you to do what you've always done for us and work with us. We put the garage on, you had no problem with it. You put the house on for the bishop and the priest to live. You gave us abilities to do so much in consideration with the church. And I hope that you will continue this process. Another thing I'm going to mention, that property behind the building, behind our church, since I was a little girl, I cannot remember it ever being developed in anything but empty property. And now all of a sudden, there's something there. Let us be the ones to be the grounding for what you want to move forward with. We have worked so hard. When I tell you that our priest that's sitting here has established us, he's brought hundreds of families back because he is helping us. He's trying to help. You should see our children's groups, our young Maronite groups, our elderly, Paul Father Patrick Kassab, what he's doing for the city, what he's bringing for us. We're going to the Indians games and we're putting money into the city for hundreds of years, for over 100 years. Please consider this. If we don't have parking, those elderly are not going to come down. If we don't have parking, I'm not going down because now I have 4 generations of my family, my grandfather, my father and mother, my siblings and I, and now I have my children who have children. My grandchildren are going there. We go every Sunday at 9:30.
I know this is time, but it's also very, very important that you consider what we have for our future. And I'm confident that the city of Cleveland will give us this gift to proceed downtown. Where else do we go? I want you to consider that. If you refuse it, what else do we do? We're going to fight for it. I'm not going to sit here after 125 years, not say a word. Please consider where we're at. It's a little parking lot. It has no impact on the city other than sitting there for another 30 years, which has been done to that entire property. I'd love to do some research on what you've done for that property since I was a kid.
All right, thank you for your comments, Judy. I'm now going to the next person on my list. I have Mr. Malou. Hopefully I didn't butcher your name, but you have the floor. Please go right ahead with your comment.
Just, I need to make a few clarifications because it's been said during the presentation that the church was here beginning 1940. It was established 1940. So the community is in Cleveland since 1860. They existed, they worshipped in a different place also in the city. They bought this church from the Italians in 1936. And it was built, we don't know exactly when, before 1901. We are sure it was built before 1901. So this is why you are hearing some people saying 125 years. That's the history. Now, just a few clarifications. The church built a garage next to the church. It's the existing garage now, when the building cost was $200K. Now the cost is $5 million, which is not feasible. Second, we're missing the point. The church did not demolish anything, and we're not asking to change anything. So right now, it is an empty parking spot, and people are legally using it as parking. Now, if you go right now downtown, you see maybe a car parking there. I don't know whose car is it. It's a non-parishioner. It's someone who just parked there illegally and unsafely, because also it is not a good parking lot. So also it's a liability. Now that we own it, it's a liability on us. If someone falls there, it's our problem, you know? So we're not changing anything. We're just asking you to fix what is bad. We are asking you to allow us to fix it, to make it, now it's an eyesore, to make it at least something. And then finally, not finally, also two things, a couple of things. In the presentation that was offered, there was some ideas about building restaurants, apartment buildings, whatever, housing, which is great, but we're missing the point. We're a church, which means we're not here to run restaurants. It's like as if I own a company that makes cell phones, and now you tell me in order to continue your business, you have to make diapers as well. It's silly. We are a church. We are here to pray, not to run businesses, not to run restaurants, not to run parking lots, not to run anything. We're here to pray. And this is what we're asking you to allow us to continue to do. Everything is remaining as is. We're not changing anything in the city. We're just asking you to let us to stay there. And the last thing I'd like to conclude with, the city, I understand the concern. The concern is we don't want everything to look like it's a sea of parking lot. If you take the picture that you showed in the beginning, how everything now is a sea of parking lot, if St. Mary leaves, then you will actually be in a sea of parking lot. We are the only thing now that is giving any sense of life in that area. If there is no game down there, it's a ghost city. It's a ghost city. We are the life of this area, of this block, of this very block. You want to kick us out because this is how it looks like. Even if you say otherwise, that you are working with us, it's not. If you want us to leave, we'll leave, and then congratulations on having, no, we're not gonna leave for sure. Congratulations on having a ghost city. And as our parishioner Judy here said, we will fight till the end. So don't make this hard on yourself. We will fight till the end. So make it easy. Now grant us what we need. Give us this permit and let's move forward.
Okay, thank you so much for your comments. I'm going to now call Mr. Sigali so that we can hear from you.
Yeah, sorry, Ziad Figali. I'd just like to add a few things to this whole thing. Basically, I've been a parishioner here for 26 years since I came back from Lebanon, and Cleveland is all I've known. When I go out of town, people ask me where I'm from, I say Cleveland. I don't say Seven Hills or Independence or anything like that. The whole thing is, about 3 years ago, I was taking my kid to church, and I happened to be in the Guardians game, Indians game, and if you don't know, if the parking garage is full, you literally have to park across the street. And you got to cross 7 lanes of traffic. My kid let go of my hand and ran, almost got hit. So it's not only just to find parking, it's for our safety, parishioner safety, to actually reach the church doors without being scared of 7 lanes of traffic. It's really, dangerous down there. And in real estate, they always say location, location, location. If there was any good thing that was going to come out of that back surface lot, Frangos, which everybody knows in town, would have developed it and sold it and made a good penny out of it. It's always been a lot, an empty lot, and we're just trying to keep it just as an additional parking for our church. If we had the money, we would not be here. I'll build you a skyscraper. We just don't have the money to afford a parking garage. If the city is willing to pay for it, God bless you. But for now, we do not have the money. All we could do is repave it, put some parking lights in it, and just use it as a, next door parking lot. That's all we're trying to do. I understand, the laws and, I come from a country of no laws. I know if we had laws, we'd probably be a better country, but that's why we like America. That's why we immigrate here. But unfortunately, we just don't have the money to do what the city is asking for. And we're just asking, maybe down the road, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we'll have some money, we could put something together. But we're also not a business. We're not an entertainment business, restaurant business, or any kind of business. We're just a nonprofit organization, and our financials are online. Anybody can see them. You could look. We're red. Literally every year, we barely break even. So just ask for, it's not just enough by the law. There's also humanity and something called common sense. If you lose your humanity, you lose basically your existence. So I just wish the city, I'm a little bit disappointed actually about this, but I just wish the city would look at it in a different way, So I have to add, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your comments. I'm now going to call to the floor Danny Cheney. You have the floor. Go right ahead.
Yes, hi, Danny Shaheen speaking. I just would like to say a couple of things. Actually, first, this could go two ways. Either we keep fighting, or we find something in between and we work it out, which is gonna be starting as a parking lot, as Ziad Khalid just said. We could start as a parking lot, make it look nicer, safer, and better for the city, better for us. And then in the future, there could be potential plans to build it up as a bigger parking lot as the city is requiring. And that's my opinion. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And last, I have George. Please go ahead and give your comments.
Unmute. Okay, Madam Chairwoman, I think everyone that spoke for this project for the church brought up all the points that needs to be brought up. I just want to reiterate on a couple of things. First, I don't think anybody cares more, knows more about that area of the city of Cleveland more than our councilman, and he said it best. The second thing is for the planning commission or the director, all the points you're bringing, and Mr. Roberts, it's been at least 20 years. You said it yourself in the presentation. Since 2005, it's been demolished the building that was there, that was even before 2005 not good for anything. I've been here since 1984, and
is just an old building. Since it's been demolished, nothing has happened in that area. 20 years, you had 20 years as city of Cleveland that you could have developed or did something good in that dead spot. And I say that spot because when a couple of people mentioned about location, even if you want to put housing or restaurant, you're not going to put a restaurant behind Carnegie, 2 buildings behind Carnegie on an unpaved street. And on the other side, you have the the cemetery. So in any case, I hope this is not a case like what happened with the Cleveland Browns. We want to put laws and regulations, and then for them to move out of the city and make the city worse than unfortunately what we want it to be. We love downtown Cleveland. We love Cleveland. Every parishioner comes in from a different area, from the suburbs, from the east, west, south, and we keep coming to downtown Cleveland. You have 400 to 500 people at least every Sunday. That's not counting the previous presentations or previous speakers talked about marriages, baptism, and different events that we have downtown. And imagine all these people going out downtown and spending their money and doing keeping the economy of downtown going. I agree with you 100%, Father. The days that we come in on Sunday, it's a ghost town till we arrive, till the commissioners get there, and you have 400 or 500 people in that area. Then it changes to the. I don't think any of the people present are here on Sundays or Saturdays afternoon or night, especially people that are in the city. They go there and they stay in their houses and they don't know what's going on in downtown. Only the councilman does. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for your comment. That is the conclusion of all of the audience members that I have on my list. Have we missed anyone in the room who wishes to speak? Okay.
Mr. Bowen
Not hearing
has his
anything,
hand
so
up. Madam Chair, Mr.
I
Bowen
was
has his
just
hand
getting
up.
ready to, just getting ready to come back to the project team to provide rebuttal.
And
Mr.
Ms.
Bowen, you have
Leonard.
the floor.
Madam Chair, we also have Ms. Leonard who would also like to speak.
So my conversation is not a rebuttal because I look at it, I guess, differently. And I've always looked at it differently. When it was developers coming forward, I was on planning commission for a long time. I voted on things about people wanting to tear down buildings. And Dan had it in his presentation for a long time. This is totally different. I believe in my heart this is totally different. And the reason why I'm here sitting at this table is not because I'm getting paid. I'm not. I'm sitting at this table because I think it's the right thing to do. When you see a zoning that is discriminatory against a church, it is my obligation to help the church. And that's why I'm here today. You know, it's kind of interesting. You know, before COVID, things seemed to be moving pretty well. During COVID, everyone stayed home because of my job and my wife's job. We were never home. We worked the whole time. I was building buildings in downtown Cleveland. You know, so I am, when we talk about experts in development, I am an expert in development. So I would tell you that we weren't going to go down the path of telling planning, oh, we'll pretend we're going to do a development, and then we get our parking lot, and then we try to drag it out after people for 20 years haven't been able to do it. I want to tell the truth. And the truth is, we can't see doing a parking garage right now. 5 years from now, maybe. 2 years from now, maybe. You never know what happens. The church had no idea 100 years ago people would have cars. We had no idea that baseball would be played next to the church. Basketball, we're in the playoffs. That's wonderful, next to the church. These are all great things. But during COVID, I noticed one thing after COVID. We seem to have lost our humanity. And it goes back to what Ziad said. We can't lose our humanity. The church is the anchor for our humanity. And when we think about granting this to the church, we're not granting, They are uniquely different. You know, if they were another developer, I wouldn't be sitting at this table. You know, I would vote against it because I would think it's wrong. But this is about people's civil rights and their constitution to be able to enjoy their religious freedom. Rule of law became enacted after case law was fought and won, just for this. I think we need to look at ourselves and look at our own humanity and say, what are we going to do to make sure this church stays in downtown Cleveland? This isn't my church. I go to Our Lady of Mount Carmel. I've been in Cleveland all my life. Our work is all over the world. We've done work in, I think, every city in the United States. You know, this is worth fighting for. I was telling Fatty before this is the most nervous I've ever been at any kind of BZA or planning meeting. And it's not because this is difficult. I do this all the time. It's because there's 3,000 families that are trusting I get this over the goal line. Otherwise, it goes to the federal court. And in court, they can do whatever. And I think that could be worse for the city of Cleveland. It was the church's desire to go through the regular planning process to do this. And that's what I'm trying to help them do. I'm not an attorney. I don't go to court. I don't want the city and this church to go to court. I would rather you just approve this. And I'm asking for you to approve this. We start parking on it right away. We come up with a parking plan. And then hopefully somewhere down the road when the cost, and I'm not talking about just the cost of building a garage. You have to have the cost of maintaining that garage. They have extra expenses right now that they need to do that they don't have the money to do to fix the garage they have. Please approve this and let us move forward. Let the church with their people coming into downtown Cleveland move forward as a viable church. You got to ask yourself, how many churches have been built since you've been around the city of Cleveland and downtown? I can't tell you one that I know of since I've been alive in 68 years that have been built. We have apartments, we have offices, we have restaurants come and go. The church has been here for 100 years. You know, if we're talking about setting precedent, we don't want to set precedent, right? Another 100-year-old church wants to build a parking lot, I would say yes to that too. So please, listen to the councilman. He's been a good partner in this whole thing. Just say yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Bowen. I'll now give the floor to Shannon Leonard. If you want to go ahead and chime in and give us your comments, please.
Yep. Good morning, Madam Chair. Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Administrator. First and foremost, I just want to state that this what is before you today is 7 variances. The first 2 define the difference between what a surface parking lot is, as well as what a parking place means. And so the applicant is requesting not only to establish this lot as a parking lot, a surface parking lot accessory to their church, which seems to be what the parishioners are all concerned about. But there's also another avenue here they're asking for is to be a for-hire parking lot, meaning they charge for the lot per parking space. So I would just want to say, so this section 349.14 came about in 1997, which was long before the current owner acquired the property. In fact, the zoning has been the same since 1997 when this code section went into place. And the purpose of it wasn't to discriminate between businesses or use types. It was really to preserve the urban architectural character of the mostly intensive developed portions of downtown Cleveland by limiting the establishment and expansion of surface parking lots within those districts. A second purpose was to reduce the auto emissions and traffic congestion in the downtown area by discouraging the creation of additional parking as shown in the maps. There are several surface parking lots surrounding this gravel vacant lot. And then it's also intended to accomplish these purposes without discouraging new development. So that's the purpose of this. As also, this was the same plan, 99 parking spaces that came before Planning Commission and the board that was denied in 2017, 18, and 19, between 2017 and 19. And that was done by a private business, and it was also denied by city planning. So there's no discrimination happening here. The whole purpose is to not in perpetuity create a surface parking lot on this specific parcel, which is across the Bronson Court from the church, the physical church building and use. And so that is the purpose of this code section, as well as all of the reasons that city planning presented. They do not need a parking space variance. I understand that their church is growing, but however they meet that is, up to them. And then they can still continue to work with city planning and the city to work on viable options here that can meet the needs of the church, but also intend to help, in terms of the spirit and intent of the code of not expanding surface parking lots in perpetuity forevermore with a variance to do so. So I just want to provide some of those items that are listed here in the on the agenda, but also what has been stated. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Leonard, for clarifying that for the board. I call to the board. Any questions from board members?
Madam Chair, I believe probably this question would go to the appellant. With regard to establishing this as a parking lot, have there been plans submitted to the city for a site plan development as a parking lot with striped parking spaces, allocated ADA spaces, necessary landscape buffers, lighting, and spaces for excuse me, spaces for bicycle parking and active transit parking, meaning scooters or things like that. Has a formal plan that would meet all the criteria for a parking lot been submitted?
No, it hasn't. But what you saw on not with the streets being enlarged, an original plan was designed, but working with fire to give them access, we would have to redo the plan. The church did not want to go through the cost of redoing the drawings until they knew there was a clear path forward. But they would do that.
So should you be approved today, you would be going forward with a plan for a parking lot that would meet the city's criteria for
Yes.
necessary amenities.
We would work with design review and city planning to go through the process of doing that. That's why I asked if we could have the parking until that all happened. That way they would have the parking through all the Indians games when they have church and people's, weddings and funerals and that kind of thing until they get the drawings approved, goes through building and housing, and then they can start construction. And by the way, also the street vacation, which has been sitting since last year in engineering, that needs to be approved, and there needs to be an access agreement with the city on that too. So all that paperwork would be done once you approve this, and we would work with design review and planning to give a nice surface lot that meets the criteria. We would also not put out of the realm of possibility doing something as a garage later on if the funding and if the need arose. But right now, in the foreseeable future, that's what they can see being done and help their parishioners park their cars.
And what time frame would you allow that to happen so that it isn't, if you were granted the ability to park your cars on the lot as it exists now while you were processing the plans for a proper parking lot, how long would you expect that to take?
Well, I'm not doing the plans, but I would tell you that, looking at plans, going through design review and planning, and building and housing, you'd probably start construction in a year, maybe sooner, maybe a little longer. And that's why I said in the beginning of my statement, if you gave us a year and a half, I think we could get through all that and have a new parking lot built.
Before we bought the lot, we asked.
Sir, you can't just speak out like that. You have to be recognized by the chair and you have to state your name. You can't just speak out.
He was just talking to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, you still can't do that. It's one person at a time.
Madam Chair, this
All
is
right, does
Shannon
that
Leonard.
conclude your questions, Ms. Faith?
It does, thank you.
Okay,
Madam
thanks,
Chair,
Ms.
this
Faith.
is
Go ahead,
Shannon
Ms.
Leonard,
Leonard.
Chief Zoning Administrator. What the applicant is asking is for a variance for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And so with that temporary use of the lot without it being drained, paved, upgraded, or meeting those code sections of 349 as well as 457, including the design. So I'm not sure that's appropriate.
Can I just say
Okay.
something to
So they
that?
would need to have all of the variances in. Is that your position, Ms. Leonard?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, that is noted. All right, any other board members have questions?
No, I don't have any
All right,
questions.
I will pose. Okay, thank you, Mr. Madison. I will pose a question to the applicant. Can we go to the legal standard screen, please? I know we have something on the screen here, but I would like to get out of the city's presentation and go directly to the legal standard. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. Now, I want to ask the project team a question. We've talked at length about, this parking lot and what we are dealing with here. But I haven't heard anything from the project team regarding the third prong of the legal standard, which is your burden to meet the standard. So the city has testified that the zoning code, the intent of the zoning code is to promote density and not to further allow parking lots, which, directly, it doesn't comply with density requirements. So to the project team, can you talk about how you believe your parking lot will fit within the intent of the zoning code, if at all?
I would tell you that when you grant the variance, it will continue to be a parking lot. That's what it was before. That's what it's been up until just recently. The church did have a medallion to park cars on it. And then that was taken away after the church had been running it for a while. And actually when they put in plans to build a parking lot. So it would be improved, but it would basically still stay the same. The practical difficulties in this whole thing is that it's far too expensive and no one has built a parking garage in Cleveland without funding from the city and oftentimes other places too. I'm not sure because no one has said that the city would give the church money. I'm not sure that the city could give the church money. The variance, you have a big parking lot right in front of it. You're right up next to an 8-foot wall for the cemetery. Putting a restaurant there or anything else would not make any financial sense for the church because now all of a sudden they need more parking, not less parking. So it's very difficult until the properties on 9th Street which are on Main and Main, are developed first. But right now, it makes no financial sense. But it would stay, as a parking lot like everything else to the west of it.
Okay, all right, thank you for those comments. If there are no other questions from the board, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, given the extensive testimony we've heard today, I move approval of the variant of calendar number 26-023.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Faith. Do we have a second?
Board Member Madison, second to get it onto the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Madison. Can we call the vote, please?
Madam Chair, could we, not to belabor the point, but we do have items in there regarding landscaping and improvements to the property that I'm not sure if Ms. Faith intended to give variances for. I'm wondering if she could just, I don't know if we want her to go one by one or if she could just tell us which ones that she would like to give them variances from. They're numbered 1 through 8, 9.
Yeah, it'd be 3 through 9.
So items 3 through 9, if she could look at those and let us know if she wants those to be granted variances as well.
Okay, Ms. Faith, can you clarify your motion?
Yep, give me a second here.
Can we change the slide to put them on the screen for her, please? I think it should be the screen before this one. Or not. There we go. Thank you so much.
Well, here's what I'd like to do is give this as the condition that the appellant meet the requirements for the parking lot specifications, which are the necessary landscaping buffers, necessary paving and draining, lighting, marked egress and entrances, fencing, and did I miss anything? Island strips, tire bumpers, those necessary amenities. Does that clarify it for you?
So, Madam Chair.
Does that clarify it?
It does a little, and are we at this time giving variances? And I guess this is maybe a legal question. Are we giving, the board does have the authority to give variances then to the City Planning Commission requirement, item 7 and item 3. So are the board members granting variances from those 2 items as well? Or is that part of the motion?
All right, Ms. Faith, let's clarify your motion. It seems like the question is around whether, go ahead.
Yeah, the site plan development for the parking lot would need to have city planning approval so that it meets all the necessary parameters that are required for a parking lot.
Okay, and then what about for the use? Are you moving that we grant the variance for that as well in your motion?
For the use as higher, as well as for the parishioner parking?
For number 3, where the use
3.
was denied.
That would be include. Yeah, I would include number 3 as well.
Okay. All right. And then, Mr. Madison, does that change your position on your second? Do you still maintain a second to the motion?
Yes, I still maintain a second.
Okay. Madam Secretary, is the motion clarified sufficiently for you?
Yes, I believe so, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. We have a motion. We have a second. Can we call the vote, please?
Sure. Mr. Madison,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Madam Chair, this variance is granted. Items 3 and 4 are being granted. The other items, the board will, do we want to hold ratification until we receive, or do we just want to assume that they will submit that to Building and Housing? Updated site plan showing the improvement requirements will be met.
Well, let's please hold ratification until that's satisfied.
You want to hold ratification until we receive drawings showing that those items will be provided?
Yes.
I would, as long as there's no objection from other board members.
I concur with that.
So we'll hold ratification until we receive a site plan showing the improvements, landscaping, drainage, lighting, driveways, all of those kinds of things that need to be. It could just be a drawing. I think that's all that the board would need to see that those items would be. And planning will need to sign off on it.
Yeah, thank you so much for your opinions. Thank you.
And just to clarify that, Ms. Kukla, as in site plan drawing, that needs to be professionally drawn, civil drawings.
Thank you. And we will, once we receive those, we'll run them by the board and we'll ratify it that following Monday if they are acceptable.
And then once it's ratified, then they pull it and park. Because that was one of my requests, that they could park until we get everything done, because we got the.
I'm not sure if the board has the authority. I'm not sure if the board has the authority to allow a temporary parking.
No, you didn't grant the variances for them, so.
We didn't grant the variances for those items, so I think that might be something you would have to work out with Building and Housing. They might be able to allow.
And assessments.
But it's only a specific period of time we have to redo it up. Because it's.
Right.
It's called.
Right.
Building and Housing, sent out, but.
We've allowed in the past for during construction, temporary parking, I believe. So that might be something that you would work out with assessments and license and Building and Housing. Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, that will conclude calendar number 26-0223. Those are all of the matters on our agenda today. So I will now turn to old business. We have numbers 1 through 5 up for ratification today. Any objections?
No objection.
No objection.
Okay, so we will ratify numbers 1 through 5 without objection. It looks like there are 3 matters that are up for affirmation. And each of them were granted in November 2025. And it looks like there are drawings still being reviewed and they need more time. Is there any objection to allowing more time in 3 calendar numbers? Which is 25-192, 93, and 94. Any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
Okay, so those will be affirmed without objection, and that concludes our old business for today. It is now 12:14, and we will adjourn. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kukla and staff.
Thank you, Ms. Faith.
Thanks.